Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another 2024 presidential election prediction. Unlike most of my previous videos, I'd actually like to take some time to talk about the candidates I have up today. Three of these candidates you may have heard of, but the person I'm going to talk about first is John Fetterman. He is the incumbent Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, serving alongside Governor Tom Wolf, and former mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania. He was picked by Wolf for Wolf's re-election bid in 2018 to replace then Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack, who had some personal issues with Wolf, allegations of him mistreating staff and whatnot. And for those reasons, Wolf decided to drop Stack from the ticket and replace him with Fetterman, and who has served as lieutenant governor during Wolf's second term. And in real life, rather than running for governor in 2022 to succeed the term-limited Wolf, he is actually pursuing Pat Toomey's United States Senate seat that Toomey is vacating. Fetterman previously ran for this seat the last time he was up in 2016, but failed to secure the nomination, did not receive the endorsement of then President Barack Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden, and the actual nominee, whose name I forget at the moment, went on to lose the general election to Toomey. And so he's running in real life for that Senate election. I have him up here against Ron DeSantis today. Now, most of you will probably have heard of him. He is the governor of Florida, hailed by the main Trump wing of the GOP for his handling of COVID. His state has remained open pretty much all throughout the pandemic. I think only one brief shutdown. Children have been in school here full-time since August. Mask mandates, I don't think there's definitely none now. I don't think there has been for a while. Cases of COVID-19, COVID rate, I think, has been lower than New York and California for a large part of the pandemic. And vaccination rates here have been solid. And so for those reasons, many in the GOP want him to run in 2024 for president if former President Trump decides to not run. And as for the running mates, Kristi Noem for Ron DeSantis is a slightly lesser known but still recognizable figure in the GOP. She is the governor of South Dakota, who has also been lax on COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions. No mask mandate. Kids have been in school here full-time. Of course, perhaps unlike Ron DeSantis, there's been high COVID infection rates. I believe over 115 South Dakotans have contracted the virus despite the state's small population density, and so she's come under fire for those reasons. And on John Fetterman's side, Tammy Baldwin, she's incumbent Democratic senator from Wisconsin, has been senator here since 2013 and has served in the House of Representatives representing the 2nd District since 1999. So that's over 20 years of Congress experience under her belt. I believe that she'd be a good running mate for Fetterman because she hails from a fellow Rust Belt state, an area that defected to President Trump in 2016. The Democratic Party has lost its stronghold here. So they're really doubling down on this demographic that they've lost with hopes of also making gains in the Sun Belt. Noem I have as DeSantis' running mate, mostly for name recognition, perhaps appealing to women voters by also having a woman vice presidential nominee alongside Baldwin. I don't think that Noem will actually provide much of a demographic advantage if precedents such as Sarah Palin being John McCain's running mate is anything to go by. Or on the Democratic side, Geraldine Ferraro being Walter Mondale's running mate. Of course, that was already a long time ago and things were different. We weren't so divided back then. But that's a video for another day. So without further ado, let's get into this. And now the safe states will remain safe. I usually flip-flop as to whether or not Virginia, Colorado, and New Mexico are safe. And in short story, they basically are at this point. The GOP has not carried these states since 2004. Spoiler, New Hampshire is, I didn't mean to do that, but New Hampshire is likely. So, yeah, most of the safe blue states remain blue, and the safe red states remain red. Basically, the usual area. All right. So these are the toss-up states I like to talk about, not Illinois. Missouri and Indiana are pretty much lost causes for the Democratic Party at this point. The last time either of these states was really competitive was 2008, when Barack Obama actually carried Indiana by a narrow margin, came within 4,000 votes of winning Missouri. But Obama then lost Indiana by, I believe, about a 20-point margin in 2012. Missouri I'm less sure about, but it hasn't been nearly as competitive since. So these are basically pretty much safe pickups for the GOP at this point. South Carolina has actually voted more left than Colorado right, believe it or not. But that's still safe. Nebraska, at large, District 1, District 3 are both safe for the GOP, part of this Midwestern Mormon Belt region. District 2, I'm actually going to put as lean Republican. And the reason for that is because Ron DeSantis will do a lot better in these, maybe not urban, but suburban areas surrounding, this is Omaha, Nebraska, I believe, this congressional district. District 2. He'll do better. He'll perform better in the suburbs, which will help him as, we'll see. Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, all go to the GOP. Why is that, you think? Well, for starters, there's lots of suburban voters in these states, and I believe that DeSantis caters more to this demographic that defected to Trump in 2020. He'll campaign vigorously in these areas. I believe that the McCain family will be more likely to back Ron DeSantis in Arizona. As for Georgia, there are controversial voting laws, as well as North Carolina, I believe, will help the GOP. North Carolina having a Democrat governor. I forget. But regardless, Georgia's law, of course, will help the GOP. Florida, not a swing state even. More like likely. Actually, I forgot to make Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia lean. But Florida is likely. And Ron DeSantis, I believe, will win his actual re-election bid for Florida governor next year big. He has about 45% approval amongst Democrats, of all things, and I think something like 80% approval amongst Republicans. Independents, I think he's doing well for himself too, so that's something. Texas is likely, I'd say about a 10-point margin. Once again, President Trump has not helped out in these suburban areas. President Trump did not perform well in these suburban areas. Not nearly as well as he did in 2016 or Romney or McCain, but I believe that DeSantis will win some of these voters back. Cornyn, or I forget his name, but the Senate race in Texas here was decided by about a 10-point margin, better than the 5-point margin Trump won by. So I believe that DeSantis will outperform Trump here. Alaska, I believe, is likely for the GOP. It's actually trended a little more Democratic as of recently, but I believe that it will remain in the GOP column, voted for the Republican candidate every election since 1968. Hawaii's safe Democrat forgot to add that. Ohio and Iowa are likely for the GOP. I believe that the Democratic Party will stop spending a lot of money here because if 2020 is anything to go by, they don't necessarily need these states to win a presidential election. And these states have shifted more to the right. Both these states were both carried by Barack Obama in 2008 and 2016, but both have been carried by President Trump by solid margins, about 8-9 point margins both times, I believe. So these states are going to remain in the GOP column, I believe, for the foreseeable future. Of course, lesser races will be more competitive here, but once again, a video for another time. Lean Democratic for Nevada. People are fleeing California and settling into places like Arizona and Nevada and bringing their politics with them. So I believe that the Democrats will already improve on the gains they've made here. As for the Rust Belt, this is interesting. I believe that Fetterman... definitely didn't mean to do that. Lean, likely. Fetterman Baldwin successfully win this area, being reasonably popular incumbents in major government offices here. Baldwin's a senator, and Fetterman lieutenant governor. I believe that Fetterman is actually a United States senator from Pennsylvania at this point. Pennsylvania will almost be a shoo-in, though of course they can't guarantee anything. In Maine District 2, I'm going to put it in the Republican column by a lean margin. Once again, it's split voting for Trump both times, interestingly enough. Let me fix this. It voted for President Trump both times. One would have actually not expected that for him to win here second time, but yeah, the GOP holds on to this area. And so that's basically it. Here's my final map. Fetterman and Baldwin become president and vice president. One being an incumbent senator, one potentially being an incumbent senator. Second woman vice president in a row. And so that's it. So I enjoyed taking this time to talk about a person who's not brought up much, but I think will definitely be brought up in the future. And as always, peace.